I originated from a boundless queendom. Royalty reigns in my family. My that comes oh so naturally, so homage is paid to this majesty. I was birthed into this greatness. I bathed in it to stay steady. My divine purpose was purchased with precious blood before conception, therefore I was born ready. Unlike Celie, I was groomed to be a winner as a beginner, like her sister Nettie. Welcome back. You are on Everyday People Radio Show. I am your host, April Deshawn. This is Everyday People Radio, an intellectual radio show with iHeart Radio Station. I appreciate you guys for coming back. We do have a continuation of last week's show about abuse, featuring the talented and beautiful, wonderful, and amazing overcomer, author Jane Pauline. She is the author of Playing Church and Still Playing Church. Anybody know about that? Any of y'all out there playing church? Oh. All right. So we're going to talk about abuse here in this segment. We're going to get into that subject. She's going to tell you guys about her story and the things that she went through. Again, I appreciate you guys for welcoming us into your homes, into your space. We greatly appreciate you. I do have one announcement. World of Wordplay. If anybody is interested in poetry or interested in seeing me, I'm going to be hosting an event with a wonderful poet, royal architect. Word of Wordplay is throwing a one-day event is all day long. It's the 3-year anniversary of this artist. It's a concert. It's going to be April 28th from 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. So it's going to be midnight wordplay and midday wordplay. So you can come out, bring the kids during the daytime for the midday, and during the midnight, we get the adult version going on. It's going to be at the Smoke-Filled Room. The address is 3359 West 79th Street in Chicago, Illinois. So get ready for some finger snaps, hand claps, and rewinds from great entertainers. The general admission is $20 for a wristband. It's an all-day pass for this awesome concert. For the first time ever, it will be 2 open mics for midday and midnight, and we'll be combining the best World of Wordplay event yet. This is a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence that you will remember and talk about for the rest of your life. If you want more information, call 773-251-5711. Again, that number is 773-251-5711, or you can email royalarchitect@gmail.com, and that's ROYALRKITEC@gmail.com. You can contact Ron West, and aka Royal Architect. I'll be hosting a midnight wordplay as Ebo, the artist. And then the midnight will be hosted by comedian Shakes. And then there'll also be a youth open mic during the midday, which will be hosted by Lil Tone and KD from Safe and Sound. So I look forward to you guys coming out. And just give Royal a call, 773-251-5711, or email him at ROYALRKITC@gmail.com. We look forward to seeing you and getting your poetry on. It'll be artists, singers, musicians, bands, everything. It's going to be a wonderful event. So come out and bring your family. We're going to take a poetry break, and we'll be right back with the interview. Boss lady.
Come on, girl. If y'all don't sit down somewhere. Yeah, girl, what's up?
Girl, let me tell you about these apples and oranges. I once read that a tree is known by the fruit it bears. And it doesn't have to tell anyone what kind of tree it is. So here is this man trying to convince me that he's an apple, just like me. But all I see is an orange. Clearly he's an orange. Apples don't look like that. Apples don't smell like that. See, an apple skin may be thin, but don't get it twisted. When you squeeze an orange, even with this thick skin, just apply a little pressure. All of the juice squirt out and then it's gone like it never existed. And if you peel the skin off first, well, that's more than half the battle. You don't have to put in that much work. Just devour each section piece by piece, and then it's gone.
And to me, this shade of orange is so unattractive on a man. And he sees my sins, so he shows me all of his assets. Truly, I'm not impressed. He brags about all of his achievements to prove to me he's the best. And for good measure, he throws in that he's a soldier for the Lord and claims to hold the word abreast. He then reveals me his family tree, and all I see is oranges. Dangling, standing, and sitting, getting squeezed, doing what oranges do with so much ease, squirting juice and quite pleased, but holding signs that read, I am an apple, holding glass bottles, labeled Snapple, chilling on cocktail tables. Exactly when did Snapple start handwriting their labels? Yeah, okay. Please understand that you can never squeeze an apple with your bare hand and get the same reaction as an orange. There's a process to the extraction. See, apples are pretty hardcore and you got to apply some serious pressure to get apple juice. And apples are not loose like oranges. There is absolutely no doubting trees don't have to speak, yet and still you keep shouting, I am an apple. Oh, I get it. You never heard of anyone being the orange of somebody's eye. Perhaps this is why you're trying so hard to be an apple. But baby boy, apples don't fall that far from the tree. And I see your tree, and there are no apples hanging from it. So unless orange is the new red, clearly you are an orange.
Welcome back. Welcome back. You are on Intellectual Radio and iHeartRadio station. This is Everyday People. I am your host and founder, April Deshawn. We are here with the marvelous and talented author, Jane Pauline. We had her last week on the show, and unfortunately, we didn't do a full interview. So we're going to go ahead and get more into that, kind of recap what we talked about already, and go on into the interview a little bit further. Thank you so much for returning, Jane. I greatly appreciate you.
No problem.
I greatly appreciate your patience with me and my traffic and directional issues. I'm gonna get that together. I was super early today, so that's good.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna kind of ask you this question that I asked you before. How long did you know that you wanted to be a published author? Or did you know that you wanted to be a published author?
No, I really didn't even know that I wanted to be a published author. I started from writing poetry, so I didn't know that I wanted to write poetry. I mean, to be a published author, but so in 2000, the year 2000, I wrote a poem, and from the poem, I started writing. The poem was entitled "Playing Church," and so that's where my writing started, from me writing poetry in 2000.
Okay. What type of things did you write about as a child?
Well, I liked his English. I always loved English, loved writing essays, outlining stuff, and I just didn't know why, but it was for what was to come, and so I just loved English, and everybody else hated it. So I wrote whatever my assignments was, because I didn't keep a journal when I was in school. I didn't start that until I was maybe like in the year 2000 when I started writing. So I didn't have that like compiling stories when I was in high school or when I was a child.
What made you start journaling?
Pain. Not having anyone to talk to, not having no one to call and tell about my situation. So the best thing that I would do, I would write Dear God letters all the time. I would write to God explaining how I was feeling, what I was going through. And so through me writing the letters, that's how my writing started to develop. So I would talk through my pen, talk to God, because I couldn't really tell my mom, I couldn't tell my family members what I was going through and what I was experiencing. So my writing was a way it gave me an outlet to be able to express myself. So that's where it comes from.
Okay. Did anybody talk to you about the benefits of journaling, or was it something that just came naturally? You just one day started writing and
It just came naturally because like I said, I had a lot of pain and I had something to say and no one to listen to. So it just came naturally to just start writing my thoughts down.
okay. And where did you grow up?
West side of Chicago.
West Side.
Yes.
And you have 3 siblings, correct?
Yes, well, it was 4.
Two siblings
It was
now.
4 siblings. My mom had 3 daughters and 1 son. He's my only brother is deceased now.
Correct. Okay. And your mother raised you, and your nickname. Tell us about your nickname one more time.
My nickname, my childhood nickname is Tussie, like Tussie Roll. And it came from when I was my mom said my dad gave it to me because I was so chocolate and chubby, and so that's where they started with the name. That's where it comes from. So anybody that calls me Tussie, I definitely know that they know me from a long time ago.
Yes, absolutely. So all your childhood friends know you as Tussie. They call you that.
Yes, they
So if
call
you
me
walking down the street,
Tussie.
they're like, yo, Tussie.
Yep.
Like, oh
I
Lord, who
know
is
somebody.
this?
I know it's somebody from way back when.
Okay. And you grew up on the west side. And did you
Mhm.
meet your husband on the west side as well? Is he
Yes, I
from the west
did.
side?
Yep. Yes, I
Okay.
did.
Yes. And then when you were with your husband, he was a ordained minister
Well,
while you guys were together.
not in the beginning. When we first got married, he was a musician for his father's church. His father was a pastor. He was a musician, and then later on, he became an ordained minister, and then later on a pastor.
Okay. And how did you guys meet?
My mom was a member of his father's church, and she would always invite me to come to church. And back then, I was young; I didn't really wasn't interested, but my mom would invite me, so I came to visit. They was having a program at the church, and so when I came to the church, that's how I met him. And he, wanted to talk to me, and he would get on my nerves, my last nerve bugging me because I didn't like him when I initially met him. He wasn't my cup of tea.
Okay.
Was not my cup of tea.
Okay. Now, with our previous interview, you stated
Mhm.
that your mother kind of gave you a little warning about being involved with your former husband and the history of the family. And you said his father was the pastor of that particular church.
Yes, his father was a pastor, and my mom knew his entire family. Like they kind of like grew up together on the block that they, when they was younger, and so she knew the history of the family. And then when she invited me to the church and she realized that he was liking me, she was like, don't get involved with this family. You don't want no parts of that because the history with women is not, it's not good. And so I told her, I said, Mom, he seemed to be good. He don't do anything. He's not like the rest of them. He don't drink. He don't smoke. He don't do any of that. So I said, Mom, I think I got the good one.
So what made you feel like he was the good one? What type of things did he do?
Cause he was like he wasn't like the average like street guy like that I was used to, dating. He was different. He was what they call today's society a lame nerd, maybe. Different from what I was used to, talking to. You smart, educated, and so I just say I want to try something different. So I didn't see any of that other stuff in him that I was seeing those guys from the street or whatever. So and it intrigued me. So I'm like, okay.
Okay. So now, once you married your ex-husband, you experienced a devastating situation throughout the marriage. He was very abusive to you. And in one situation, the first situation that almost took your life, can you tell us about that you told us about before?
Well, it was back in April 1997, maybe between the 19th and the 21st. I'm not for sure, totally for sure about the date. We were separated. I separated from him. We were married, and we would just fight all the time. So we always had some form of violence going on. So we would break up, get back together, break up, get back together, and I was tired at that point. So I moved out, got my own apartment. We stayed in separate places, and then we worked at the same nursing home. I was a CNA, he was a CNA. and I had to get a restraining order against him because he kept trying to insist that he wanted, us to get back together, and I didn't want to get back together with him. And so one Friday night, this particular Friday night, I really didn't want to go to work. And I think my son said, "Mom, don't go to work." But I was like, "Son, Mom got to go pay the bills." And so I went to work, and he was there. I didn't see him that night because they separated us on the unit. They had me on one place and had him on another place. So I didn't see him until we punched out at about 7:30 that morning. And he walked up to my car and he said he wanted to take me out to breakfast and wanted to talk to me. And I did not, I declined the offer. And so he kept, insisting that I go with him, and I kept declining the offer. So he was just getting upset because I wasn't budging. And so he decided to take things in his own hand. I opened my car door to get in my car door, and he snatched the door open and pushed me into the car over to the passenger side. And once he did that, I knew he was in snap mode, and I know he was finna pull it. And so he pulled off with me in the car, and we went to the Red Roof Inn in Naperville on Deal Road, and he was trying to rent a room for us. Now, I didn't want to talk to him, so I didn't want to go and rent no room.
Exactly.
I had no private time with him. So we were at the downstairs in the lobby, and the clerk was in there, and she was, I guess, registering us. And so I started saying, if I don't say something now, it's going to be bad. So, I was scared, and I was like, okay, I need to do something. So I told the lady, I said, call the police. He's kidnapping me. And when I said that, all hell broke loose. He started beating me. He proceeded to beat me up in the lobby. And when the lady was calling the police, he went behind the counter and he threw her against the wall. He was beating her up. And so the police were on their way. They got there kind of pretty fast. So by that time we had went back to the car, and he threw me in the back seat. And so when I looked in the back seat, the police car pulled up in the back, and I'm like, yes, 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 thank you, God. And he did the unthinkable. He took my car, used it as a battering ram, and moved that police car out the way and eluded the police just that quick. I was just like, are you kidding me? So now what? He went back to the job where we worked at, where his car.
So let me ask you something really quick. When he backed up into the police, they didn't turn around and try to chase him.
They were, I guess they were more or less shocked that he did that. And then it was like one or two cars there, and they were coming. So they were on the way because they got the call. So when he did that and was able to go, it's just like it happened so fast. And the other cops was coming, and I don't know, they was chasing us. They was going this way, we going the opposite direction. So I don't even know why that the other car, because I don't know if he hit both of them with the car or disabled the cars. I don't know, but the other people was coming, the police coming, and we going the other way. And so I'm seeing this in the car, and ain't no way I can just wave them down and say, hey, he's over here. So he went back to where we started at the job where his car was, because they was looking for my car. So he switched cars. At that point, he got out of my car, parked my car, and the plan was to get in his car, and I tried to break forward and run, because I'm like, let me go ahead and run. And I seen this guy, the maintenance guy, standing there, and I thought he was gonna help me, and he turned around, looked at me, and turned his back. And so I beat me up right there on the front lawn of Tabor Hills Nursing Home in Naperville, and all of my coworkers were standing in the window, and they was looking out the window at me, because administration had told them, don't go out there, don't get in it. We called the police. We, liabilities and all of that stuff, policy. Don't go out there and get, help her. And so I could, like I say, that's where he did the assault, was right there on the nursing home. And so from there, he picked me up and dragged me to the car and threw me in the car. And then we left the nursing home. We got on 88 and proceeded. I believe we ended up in Rockford, Illinois for a day, for one day. And then he ended up coming back to Lombard that Saturday. And then by that Sunday, he ended up going back to his home, and his father encouraged him to turn himself in, because they had put out APB for me, and they said that he was armed. Well, because of his history, that he was armed and dangerous, so they was to shoot him on sight. And his father encouraged him. He said, "You son, you need to turn yourself in." So he turned himself in, and he took me. His father took us to the police station on Kizzy and Harrison, and my family was called and notified, and all of my relatives, first cousins, aunties, uncles, sisters, everybody came to the police station to pick me up. After I gave statements to the police, they took pictures and everything, and my mom was. They were in the lobby waiting for me, and so I came out amongst them, and no one said nothing, and I was wondering what was going on, and so they turned around and they looked at me. My mama looked at me, and she passed out. My sister started to projectile vomit. Everyone was just screaming. It was just like just like a horror, just like screams of agonizing screams in the lobby, and the police. It was like chaotic in the police and they had to get extra security police officers to come out because my family was ready to, as they said, the deck go up. Oh, it went up because they was trying to get back there where he was, and they was like, no, we can't let anybody back there. And they was like, she needs to go to the hospital. And so my cousin, my first cousin Robbie, he said, Sissy, you need to go to the hospital. I said, no, I don't, I'm okay. He was just like, no, you're not okay. And now I didn't want to go. And so he was the only one that talked me into going, because I was just like, I go home, take me a few aspirin, I'll be fine. I still didn't know it was as bad as they reacted to it, And so we went to.
So you hadn't actually seen yourself in the mirror?
I did when we went to the what hotel were we in Rockford, when I went to the bathroom and I seen it, and it scared me, and I was like, oh my God, I look like a monster. I said, but okay, it'll be okay, it'll go down. So I'm still,
rationalize.
Yeah, we're trying to rationalize it. It's just, a little swelling, it'll be okay. And so I was in the bathroom and I prayed and I asked God to bring me back home safely. I said, God, he's totally done lost his mind, and he wasn't acting like himself, talking like himself. He was even cursing God, just in a rage, just angry. So I knew something had snapped. You know what I'm saying? So I prayed. I said, God, I can't fight him. I can't see. I just need to come back home to my kids because, he had a plan. His plan was to keep me until my swelling went down. And so we returned back and I looked normal. No, that wasn't going to happen because I looked like a full-fledged monster. So
he stated that he, like the morning after everything, he acted like nothing had happened. Like he had no clue what went on, asking you what happened to you. Like he was not present.
That was his plan that was the plan that he came up with, that he knew that the police eventually was, he was gonna have to go to jail. So that was he was putting together his plan of that he didn't do it, someone else did it, and so he kind of like scripted me to go along and say that I had got robbed when I got off work. Because I knew that that's what he wanted me to say. If I said that he did it, and he got totally angry, like he was getting ready for round 2. So I said, okay, let me rethink this.
Yes.
Let me play this nut roll with him, because I know that was his plan that he was coming up with, that I was supposed to get a police statements that I got attacked. So that's what his plans was.
I want to take you back to when you were talking about when you were at your job and you made a run for it, and this maintenance guy standing here, and he just looked at you and didn't help you. What was going through your mind at that moment?
At that moment, I was like, oh, I'm in trouble. I say, he won't help me. I couldn't, for whatever reason, I couldn't run. I thought I was running fast, but his angle was, I guess, intense running. So he was faster than I was, and I was just trying to make it on the inside, because I was like, okay, well, if I get in there, somebody gonna help me. And I couldn't even get close to where I was trying to get. And the maintenance man, I was just like, okay, I'm dead now. So, and then when he caught up with me, I just knew that, it was over for me. And so he proceeded to let all of that anger, all of that rage Like it was like he was strong with like 10 men. It was just like straight demonic, just straight full manifestation of nothing but pure rage and anger.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have any weapons.
And so when you went through all this with your co-workers onlooking, and I'm sure that was traumatic for you, what was it like for you to, once you did heal, to go back to work or anything like that? Or did you go back to that job?
Yes, unfortunately, I had to go back to that job. It was embarrassing because I stayed off for 5 weeks in the beginning when it first happened to heal, and when I came back to work, I came back with black eyes. I still have black eyes for the next 3 months.
Wow.
So I didn't come back looking okay, and I was okay. I came back still wounded, and everyone is looking like, oh my God. So it was embarrassing for me. It was hard, but I still had to take care of my kids. I still had to work. So I didn't get a chance to just take off a lot. I wish I could have taken off, longer so I can come back and at least look like a person. I still was bruised and swollen and stuff. So they was just like, that's a shame. So it was very humiliating. It's humiliating to go back to work.
Absolutely. And then how did your kids handle this whole ordeal?
My son at the time, I believe he was 8, and my daughter, my oldest daughter, she was 6. And when I came through the door in the house, I had on my glasses. I took my sunglasses off, and my son said, my daughter said, "Mom, you look like a monster." And my son started screaming. He said, "Mama, I'm gonna kill him." He said, "I'm gonna kill him," and he was just in a rage, just crying and screaming that he was going to get him for what he had done to me. So my kids had to see me looking horrible, just horrible, and I kept saying, "It's okay." They was like, "No." They was like, "It's not okay," because in my head I was like, "It's not that bad." But it was.
Absolutely.
So I just was rationalizing with it. That's what abused women do.
Yes. You guys give us a call. The number is 708-223-8953. 708-223-8953. Give us a call if you have any questions or you have any comments. The number again is 708-223-8953. What was the age group of your kids during that period of time?
My son was 8 and my daughter was 6.
Wow.
They were small.
And did you have any children with him? Because these are children that you had previously, correct?
Yeah, those were children that I had when we got married. Oh, okay. Part 2. Yes, I do have 2 children by him, 2 younger children by him. So after all of that happened, part 2 started.
Okay, so part 2 meaning that you actually went back to him.
Yes, he went to prison. He did 2 years. They were trying to give him 45 years for what he had done to me and the clerk and everything involved in the case, but I was too terrified to testify against him, so I would not get on a witness stand in the trial to testify against the man. So he only ended up getting 2 years.
Did the clerk testify against him?
Yes, she did. So they some kind of way, they ran whatever it was from DuPage County concurrent. So it was 2 years total, just 2 years. Had I not been afraid, had I not given in to the mentality of being abused, I would have stood on trial, and he still would be locked up to this day. So I didn't do that. I didn't choose that option. I backtracked. And like I say, when you let the bird out of a cage and it's used to being caged, you just go back and close the door and you stay in the bird cage. And so it's a mentality, it's a mental illness that happens when you're in an abusive relationship that a lot of people don't understand. It's a psychological thing that takes place because you become so used to the abuse, so used to everything being abnormal, that normal to you. So you even have a whole set of mindset of thinking of how you make decisions, and everything is geared around abuse.
Absolutely.
So I took him back after he did He served 2 years in prison. And what I found out when he was in prison and all of that happened, that weekend I ended up being pregnant with my third child, my third daughter, my second daughter rather, but my third child.
So once he got out of prison, how was he able to reconnect with you? Did he reconnect with you, or did you seek him out?
He reconnected with me. I went to church that one Sunday. His father was still, still the pastor. So I went to church that Sunday, and he would call his father from prison. And this particular Sunday, his father came, asked me, he told me, he said, your husband is on the phone. He said, do you want to speak to him? I was like, okay. So I get to the phone, and I'm expecting the part two of the rant and rave, the cuss me out or calling me out my name, finna continue, and totally different person. I love you. I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. Can you forgive me? All of the everything that he could have said that he did say. I mean, it was nothing that I expected. I thought it was going to be, when I get out of here, when I see you. No, it was, I love you. Please don't leave me. Let's work this out. I was like, and at that point in time, wounded, very wounded, not low self-esteem, not believing in myself. I was like, okay, but I got to tell you something. I'm pregnant. And he asked me, was it his? And I said, yes. So he said, okay. And from that point on, he began to write me letters while he was in jail. I would respond. We started talking backwards and forth, corresponding through letter. And I didn't tell my mom. I didn't tell anybody in my family, because it was like they were going to kill me if they knew. Like, how could you go back or even talk to him after everything that he's done? So I kept that a secret for a while. And then once my mom found out I was pregnant with my daughter, pregnant with my third child, and she told me, she said, well, you don't need to have no baby with him, because if you do, you got to be bothered with him for the rest of your life. And so it's best that you don't even, entertain that. So I thought about it, because, I didn't have anybody. I said, okay, well, let me go. I'm going to go to the clinic and correct this mistake. And when I got there and went through the process for being ready to do that type of procedure, and I looked on the ultrasound, and I seen my child, and I couldn't do it. God said no. So because I didn't have the abortion, my family retreated from me, because they was like, we're done with you. We're gonna wash our hands of you, because you want to entertain this mess, and this man did you like that. So they were angry with me for a long time. That they just say, you on your own. So I said, okay.
Because they felt like the child had something to do with your connection with him, but it was actually your child. So that was your seed. That was your part of your being.
They were thinking in terms, well, you got to deal with him. So that's going to keep, because I didn't have any kids at first. So they was like, you got a clean break. You get your divorce. Fine. So because I kept the child, and I started to go and see him. And once my child was born, I would take her to the prison to see her dad, and he did 2 years, and then his attitude was totally calm, cool, collected, no more anger. He was just this. Oh my God! I was like, wow! It took all just for you to.
So let me ask you this: during the relationship, he was abusive to you before this day where you almost lost your life. Had he done the "I'm sorry" and "I won't do this again" and bring you flowers and try to shower you with his love after he'd abused you previously?
No, I didn't get the flowers. I didn't get.
I mean, like anything to say I'm sorry for.
No, it was always, if I hadn't did what I done, he wouldn't have had to do what he did.
Okay.
So it was always my fault that the altercation would occur. If I just did what he said do, he wouldn't have had to, act that way. So it was always my fault, regardless. So I didn't get the sorries, and so that's why it stunned me when I talked to him on the phone. He had never apologized, like never. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, wow, he's changing. God done touched him. So I was under the guise that he was. Oh, it took for him to go to prison. Now he's good.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just, doing a little research. I have a lot of stuff here. I know we're not going to be able to get through it all,
Mm-hmm.
but more than 3 million incidents of domestic violence are reported each year in both men and women. So not only women are being abused in domestic disputes, but also men.
Mm-hmm.
So if there are any men out there who want to call in, or any men who are interested in telling their story, please contact me, April Deshawn. You can contact me on Facebook. You can inbox me. You can give me a call at 224-214-0259. You can give us a call here at the show, 708-223-8953. I would love to talk to you and help you to get your story out, to help other men, because I know that's something that's difficult for men to admit, that they've actually been abused by their spouse or lover. Nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. During 1 year, this equates for more than 10 million people. 1/3 of women and 1/4 of men will have experienced some sort of interpersonal violence. And for 1/4 of women and 1/7 of men, it's severe. So this is a serious issue. And people have to understand that you have a right to say no. You have a right to walk away from someone who is mistreating you, whether it's physical, emotional, mental. You don't have to accept that from anyone. You can actually move away. There are actually phone numbers, websites that you can look up to get to the contact for the National Domestic Violence Hotline is 800-799-7233. If you're hard of hearing, it's 800-787-3224. There's websites for Illinois Domestic Violence Act or any domestic violence. You can just type it in on Google and they'll help you find a way out. I encourage you to love yourself more than you love that other person who is abusing you. You have to love yourself. You have to get up and you have to get away from it. Victims are often minimized by the violence and they're in denial. Some things is usually abuse takes place behind doors, and the abusers deny their actions and they blame their victims. Is usually a lot of times it starts with verbal abuse, and they damage your self-esteem. They continually put you down. They want to be in control of you. The abuser is possessive and may try to isolate their partner from friends and family. An abuser is hypertensive and may react with rage. A gun in the house will increase the risk of homicide by 500%. 2/3 of domestic violence perpetrators have been people who drink or use drugs. So these are things to think about when you're dealing with domestic violence or someone who is an abuser. If you are an abuser, if you're someone and you're with a partner and you are constantly making that person feel bad, you're an abuser. So sometimes abusers may not realize that they're an abuser. You are an abuser, and you need to step up to that fact and maybe get help for yourself. Tell us about part 2, when you guys finally did get back together, when he got out of prison and you took this man back into your life. Now your family has ostracized you. Now is his family encouraging the relationship?
Yes, they just saying everybody needs to just stay out of our business and we'll be okay. When he come home, everybody just needs to mind their business. They'll be okay.
Now, even though this is a pastor, you're in the church, and you almost lost your life. Stay out of their business, and you're going to be okay.
Because everybody had an opinion. My family, they wanted to kill him, and their family, was trying to. I guess they were trying to make light of it. It wasn't that bad, or it's between them, and everybody should stay out of that. So that's what the advice was being given. He's coming home. They'll be all right. Everybody just stay out of their business and let them work it out. Yes.
And what happened that it became the last straw, and now you have finally freed yourself of your abuser?
The last straw for me, well, once he got out of prison in '99, I had my third child. He came home, and me wanted, him to be a father to the children and everything, and so we got back together. It was okay. The 2 years that he was gone, I was separated from him. Didn't have to deal with it. But once he came home, I started to have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. I started reliving the episodes and like nightmares, and I didn't know why or what was going on, and I wouldn't tell him. I was afraid to tell him that I was feeling like I hated his guts and I didn't want to be with him. It didn't take long until I started to have those reoccurring episodes. I didn't know what it was because I didn't go to get psychiatric help as they told me or counseling. I never did because I just assumed that I was okay, and I couldn't stop the reoccurring feelings that I had, no matter what I did, how hard I read the Bible, prayed, and so. But I was determined to prove to the world our marriage is gonna work. God changed him. He's okay now. So I was just determined to not have a failed marriage, So, and I didn't know what PTSD was. At that time, I did not know. And so we would have arguments. We started having arguments. It wasn't physical. After he came home, the 2 years after he came home, there wasn't any physical abuse that happened from that point on. We would have verbal arguments because I was feeling the way I was feeling. I could not explain why, and I was always bringing up the issue, and he was like, "Well, I spent 2 years in jail. I don't owe you nothing. I paid my debt to society."
Wow.
That's what he told me. He said,
wow.
If you want to stay in the past, then you live in the past. But I did what I was supposed to do, but I was still hurt. You get what I'm saying?
My life I almost lost my life.
But he paid his debt. So stop. In other words, he was telling me, stop bringing it. That's in the past. We can't go forward if you keep bringing this up. Well, how do I deal with these reoccurring dreams and the feelings that I'm having? You telling me because you sat in jail, you still supposed to be in jail. But in other words, like, that's your issue. You deal with it. You need to go get counseling. I need to go get counseling. How about we need to go because you caused the pain? He never seen it that way. He always said that I was holding on, that he was good.
And but did you go to counseling?
I did in 2011. Years later, because I kept dealing with PTSD until one day I just got on the computer and I started looking up women survivors that of domestic violence, battered woman syndrome, and I came to a website and it said symptoms of PTSD. Every symptom that I read, I was like, wow, that's what's wrong with me. I didn't know that my body was in shock from 97 until, what year was that? 2009, maybe. I started reacting. It wouldn't go away. I could not make it go away. And so I just got really, really tired of it. And I would tell him, I say, this is what's wrong with me. So I would show him the signs and symptoms and what the computer was, what it said online. And he's like, you need some help. So it was never, let's go get some help.
But I have to say that he was correct, because he felt like he had did what he needed to do and he was at peace with the whole situation, but you weren't. So you definitely needed to have the help.
I was not at peace.
It wasn't him that needed to go to counseling for that particular thing, but you guys needed to go to counseling together to be a couple for him to support you. Mm-hmm. But you actually were the person who needed to go to counseling. So he was absolutely correct in that, I think. I don't agree with his thought process. I don't agree with him saying that he paid his debt to society, because I don't think that debt can ever be paid. Nope. If he wanted to continue to be in a relationship with you. That's just my thoughts.
He just, like I say, he just put it on me and that I needed to be healed. So, but it was hard to try to do that and still try to continue on and love you. And I'm looking at you all the time. I'm laying in bed looking at you and I just hate your guts. I just started feeling just like this disgust. And it was hard because by that time when he came home from prison, he started a ministry. He had came home from prison and he had to go to his father's church to pastor because his father wasn't there. So in his absence, he took over as the pastor. And so from there, we started our own ministry. So that's how I became the first lady. And so we had the church to deal with my issues, with my hurt and trying to, lead the sheep. And so that's how he ended up pastoring. And we started started our own ministry. So I said, okay, God, I'm just going to throw myself into ministry, and I'll put my issue on the back burner, and I'll, do your will, your work, and you got to take care. Because I would put the pain back on the shelf and put it in the closet, put the facade up. I'm good. But one day I couldn't put the facade back up no more. It wouldn't go in the closet. And it was like I had an image of myself come to me sitting on the in the bathroom, but this was the battered Jane, and I was looking at the looking like a monster sitting there, and I just looked like, why are you here? She said, why are you still here? And I was like, what? She said, I need to be set free. I'm tired. And I was like, wow. I couldn't tell. It was so strange that how it happened. And I was looking at myself, and she said, you've been here too long. It's time to set me free. And I was like, wow. I just didn't know how to go, because I tried to leave. The first time he tried to kill me. So I say, if I try again, what's going to happen? Will he succeed? So the fear kept me.
So, well, I guess we didn't have a call. Mm-hmm. So once you decided that you were going to go, did he become abusive again, or were you able to just was he truly repentant over his repentance of what he did, and he was truly felt like he had paid his debt to society and he was done with it?
No, he wasn't. So when I just realized, my mom called me one day and she said, she said, Tussie, it's time to go. I said, what you mean, Mom? She said, I see what's on you in your spirit, and it's time to go because I'm scared you're going to wake up and kill him. Mm. She said, it's time for you to go. And I said, well, I need a plan. I was scared. And so I could not tell him that I was leaving. I wasn't going to do that one, because if I announced that, then I was scared for crazy. Mm-hmm. I had to devise me a plan, and God gave me instructions, what to do, what not to do, what to say, and to be able to ease my hand out of the lion's mouth without waking him up. So that's how I was able. Once I came to that conclusion, and I was just like, the voice said, why are you still here? And I just knew then, I think it was the end of 2008, that I couldn't do it any longer, and that I was sure that I was done with the whole trying to put up the facade, and I'm okay, and I'm just broken and torn down on the inside, and he's great, and I'm just, so I couldn't do it no more. So I had came up with me a plan. I had got to my like I say, when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, I had got to the bottom of the barrel of excuses, reasons. Even though there was no more violence, it became a mental thing, like with control with the money. He made sure I stayed broke. Every dime I had, I spent on the house. He did whatever he wanted to do with his money. His money was his, mass was his. So it was hard. So I had to pick up extra hours and do it. I had to get really, really sweet. So you could what is the saying? You can do more with honey. Mm-hmm. Than
you catch more bees with honey than vinegar or
so
oil.
I had to get real sweet. I had to
tell us what your plan was.
To be so sweet, I transformed myself into a happy wife.
Mm-hmm. You transformed yourself to a happy wife?
Yeah, I transformed myself.
And then you just one day was gone? Is that how you did it?
Yeah.
And he didn't look for you?
Oh, yeah, he knew where I was, but by that time, my son was 18.
Okay.
My son had gotten older, and that was my protector. And he said, Val, that he would never let him hurt me like that again. So he couldn't get to me like he could when the kids were little. My son was a man, mm-hmm. growing into a man. And so he would have had to contend with my son. So me and my son left. And the girl stayed with him for a little bit. And I moved and got me another apartment. It was far enough away from, but we were still in the same area. But he didn't do the stalking thing that he had done before. we would just have arguments and disagreements, and I just knew that each time that I left and tried to go back, things got worse. It never fixes itself. For anybody out there who's thinking that, it's going to get better, it's not. When it's time to go, it's time to go.
Yeah.
When your season is up, your season is up. And my season was up, and God told me, I kept giving you a way out. You kept coming back. So this time I said, okay, God, I'm going to stay going. And I managed to still, stay far away from it. Stay far away from it. Mm-hmm. It took a lot. And that was about 19 years in then. So
wow.
It was a long time.
So we're going to let you guys know about Jane Pauline's books, Still Playing Church and Playing Church. I'm going to pull up this little bulletin board so you guys can see it. Look for her.
On Amazon.
Tell the people how they can contact you.
You can contact, I'm on Facebook. I have a Playing Church page. You can get my books on Amazon. Playing Church, the first one is not available. I have to reprint that one, but it's available ebook. Both books are on ebook, and Still Playing Churches. You can get that. That's ready. I just have to redo the first book, but I'm on Facebook, and you can Playing Church has its own page for upcoming events and different things that I'm doing.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate you coming back to us. I want you guys to keep in mind that to love yourself above everything. Please. Don't allow your heart to allow you to be in a situation that you're uncomfortable or that you're being abused or manipulated by another person. If you love that person, then that person needs to love you back. If they can't love you back, then you have to find a way to move on with your life. I do appreciate you. I hope that you come back next week. I will see you next Wednesday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. here on Intellectual Radio and iHeart Radio Station, Everyday People. I am your host and founder, April Deshawn. See you next week.
I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a woman, I put away childish things. Timid. In an environment of forced silence. Not by violence, but stifled by the one who led me. No options laid out, no multiple choice. So I pressed mute on the nearest remote to shut off my own voice. Sequestered like an unopened gift sitting inside a box with locks, purposely unsecured but left hanging. Perched inside, banging on the walls, dying to be free, trying to be me, trying my best to see, but in the dark everything is black. And often I was too afraid to scream, so in silence I remained, quietly maintained, and the box became my safety, my own personal den. But I needed some kind of release, so I found paper and then a pen and began to scream into the pages, pouring out my heart. For years, many stages of life carved its longest path to 21 days of consecration. That led to an invitation to speak, to share this gift, lift the hearts of others, and encourage the weak. During that time, I was dealing with the death of my mother. I was hesitant, but little did I know